bug you through cell phones and webcams in the area, but the deep state operatives can find out everything about a target, from your most intimate communications sent through text messages or emails, to stealing your personal photos from your phone or your cloud storage, to uncovering health problems, shopping habits, eating habits, political views, friends, family, acquaintances, personal finances, gun ownership, etc., etc. This power is so incredible that no man can resist abusing it, and it's how the deep state keeps politicians in line. And
sheesh, goodness,
Yeah.
goodness.
As most of you probably noticed yesterday, around 2:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, y'all got an nationwide emergency broadcast on your cell phones and or TVs if you're watching TV. Now, technically, they only have to test once every 3 years. They tested it in 2 this year. And the last time was much longer than that. So my question is this: why are they testing it now? What is the purpose for this quote unquote test that they're putting out to all cell phones and radios and TVs that is got, especially if it's from FEMA? Like, at this point, I mean, it's almost as if they're like, okay, here, we're putting this out, but we're going to be, this is like a warning signal. You know, it's like, you know, something's coming and we got to warn people. And it wasn't like you could stop it unless you either A, shut your phone off, or B, block the signal for somehow. So those are the 2 ways you could stop from getting it. So yeah, I mean, it's just, it seemed very suspicious that they would put out the signal in 2 years instead of every 3 years, like there's, you know, they should, because, oh, that's right, next year would have been the 3rd year, which is an election year. So, I mean, there were some theories floating around on the internet. Some of them a little more outlandish than others. Some of them, I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion about some, but you know, they turn around and whipped up the media into its full frenzy force of propaganda to try to debunk any claims that this is nothing more than just a test. So yeah.
So, from your perspective, you think there is something behind this that we're not understanding that they might be working on?
Mhm.
They're testing us or priming us for something bigger.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
wonder if
over
movies have
over the
any
last few
connection to do.
years, we've seen everything under a psyops playbook.
Mm. I wonder if
Really.
this has to do with anything with climate change and so on. You know how that stuff goes. You know.
Well, I mean,
Mm.
there's been talk about potentially
Mhm.
certain entities having the ability to control certain things.
Mm. According to them, the purpose of this test is to ensure that the system continue to be effective means of warning the public about emergency. Why wasn't that test used for the people at Maui,
Hmm.
particularly those on a national level, in case of the October 4th test is postponed due to widespread severe wet? Uh-oh. I didn't even read
Hmm.
this. I didn't even
Yeah.
read this. And other significant events, and the backup test date is October 11th. Okay, fine.
Yeah. So
So,
due to widespread outages or other significant events. Like, what other possible other significant events could there be that would cause them to retest this in a couple of days?
Yeah. What's coming? We don't know. Let's keep an eye out. I don't know. I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys have any thought or perspective? So according to Bacon, the FBI has a special unit that are organized to come up after Trump's orders. And anyone centered to the right or to be characterized as an extremist, anti-government, domestic terrorist. Ooh,
yeah, but everybody's gone so far left. Anybody with common sense and half a brain is considered right of left.
Bacon, let's pray that's not really the case, right? But it looks like that's kind of where we are headed. Bacon added another thing, 106 billion to Ukraine. Yeah, exactly. That goes to show you that American last policy from the Democratic Party is working.
Yeah,
instead of the American,
like they're trying to tear it apart from the inside.
Yeah. Let's listen for some more thoughts from you guys, because you guys might have a perspective about this that we don't know about.
Yeah, they haven't done this step for 13 years. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, they downloaded a lot of information. Yeah, I know, man. I know. There's a video from Mark Dice. My Lord, I don't know if we should add that to the list, because we have 2 more hours to hang out. So Mark Dice had this video the other day. Disturbing. And I tell you what, and I think
J. Edgar Hoover was the.
Let's get to it, because it won't hurt, because there's a lot of stuff in there that I think might be connecting to what we're discussing here.
J. Edgar Hoover was the infamous director of the FBI and its predecessor organizations, where he worked for 48 years under 8 different presidents. And it was only after his death in 1972 that the depths of his corruption was revealed. Hoover kept dirt on everyone he could and used that dirt to manipulate people in whatever way he wanted. He was able to use the FBI to influence not just politicians, but also Hollywood studios as well. He was able to have various planned films canceled or the scripts changed to prevent the portrayal of the FBI in a negative light, including preventing John Wayne from starring in a TV show titled The FBI, which ran from 1965 to 1974 because John Wayne was a member of the John Birch Society, which Hoover despised. The John Birch Society, if you're not familiar with them, is perhaps the first organization created to expose globalism and communist infiltration of the United States. You don't hear much about them these days, but in the late 1950s and 60s, they were quite popular among patriots, and they're credited with starting the anti-New World Order movement. J. Edgar Hoover also targeted anti-war rock and roll musicians like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and particularly John Lennon. In the 1960s, Lennon released an album containing protest songs denouncing the Vietnam War, which enraged the establishment. So J. Edgar Hoover tried to get him deported over a marijuana possession charge that he had received in England sometime earlier. He also worried that John Lennon's outspokenness threatened Richard Nixon's re-election chances. Hoover's files also reveal how ruthless President Roosevelt was. It was believed that his wife Eleanor was having an affair, and after this was investigated privately by the FBI and pretty much confirmed, FDR wanted all the agents who worked on the case killed so they wouldn't spread rumors about his wife's supposed infidelities. The files reveal that he personally ordered all of the agents who worked on the case to be sent to the South Pacific during World War II to fight against the Japanese, quote, until they were killed. Historians admit the rampant corruption led by J. Edgar Hoover, but of course the FBI claims to have made changes to prevent such abuses from continuing, which we all know is a lie. But looking back at how much influence he was able to have decades ago should send chills up one's spine when thinking about what is possible with today's technology. Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer made an ominous threat against President Trump, saying the intelligence agencies have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at him because he dared question their integrity. And Certainly they did. So they fabricated evidence to get warrants to spy on Donald Trump and his associates, and then charged many of them with invented crimes, and even used these same intelligence agency dirty tricks to impeach Trump over a phone call that he had with Ukraine's president when he was asking about Joe and Hunter's corrupt dealings in the country. A truly Orwellian scheme, later admittedly conducted by the FBI for decades, is COINTELPRO, an acronym for Counterintelligence Program, which illegally investigated and disrupted political activists, religious organizations, civil liberty groups, anti-war groups, and others that were deemed problematic by the establishment. Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders of the civil rights movement and those associated with the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, were targeted, as well as groups protesting the Vietnam War, including many college students. J. Edgar Hoover had ordered agents to expose, disrupt, discredit, or otherwise neutralize the leaders and activities of such groups. It's important to understand that most of the targets of COINTELPRO weren't doing anything illegal at all. And they were just trying to change society for the better by encouraging civil rights or protesting the Vietnam War. But that wasn't what the establishment wanted, and it was disrupting the social order. Agents involved in the program did a lot of illegal, underhanded, and dirty tricks to disrupt their targets, including mailing forged letters to leaders of organizations, claiming to be from someone else with accusations that someone's wife was cheating on them, illegal wiretaps, spreading false and slanderous rumors about people, frame-ups, vandalism, and more were common tactics still used by the deep state today, of course. In 2013, word spread like wildfire around the world that a former NSA contractor with a high-level security clearance had stolen thousands of classified documents detailing the technical capabilities of the National Security Agency. 30-year-old Edward Snowden fled the country to avoid imprisonment and was given asylum in Russia. And the cache of classified documents that he obtained revealed the shocking details of what COINTELPRO had morphed into. The Snowden leaks proved that the NSA was not just illegally conducting mass surveillance of Americans and virtually everyone around the world without warrants and clearly violating the Fourth Amendment, but they also proved the government's protocols extended far beyond ordinary eavesdropping. Laptops are routinely intercepted by UPS during shipment after being purchased from online retailers like Amazon and then fitted with special hardware, including microcellular modems so that their hard drives could be accessed even if the computers aren't connected to Wi-Fi or the internet in any way. This operation is called interdiction, by the way. We also learned that the government has the ability to manipulate online polls on websites, a program called Underpass. They restrict YouTube videos from going viral or have them removed for phony terms of service violations. That program is called Silverload. And if they want, they can make certain videos receive tons of views and give the appearance that they've gone viral. That's codename Slipstream. They intercept millions of webcam feeds and scam the people chatting over them with facial recognition systems to identify them. That's Operation Optic Nerve. They collect nudes and other compromising photos of people so that they can be blackmailed or publicly humiliated by releasing them. They call that love int or love intelligence. And they have the ability to record and store every phone call in the entire world. Not just a record of who called who, but the actual audio of the calls using Project Mystic. They can also spoof anyone's email address and send emails under any identity, not to mention spoof any phone number. This is just a sample of their capabilities. And of course, this is all done under the umbrella of national security. Edward Snowden confirmed that the government has what he called turnkey tyranny power. And with the flip of a switch, they could target anyone anywhere in the world. Not only can they physically locate you and bug you through cell phones and webcams in the area, but the deep state operatives can find out everything about a target from your most intimate communications sent through text messages or emails to stealing your personal photos from your phone or your cloud storage to uncovering health problems, shopping habits, eating habits, political views, friends, family, acquaintances, personal finances, gun ownership, etc., etc. This power is so incredible that no man can resist abusing it, and it's how the deep state keeps politicians in line. And
sheesh, goodness,
Yeah.
goodness.
That's why they didn't want Edward Snowden. They did want Edward Snowden in jail for so long because he exposed all this.
Yeah, not just Edward Snowden, but also the other guy from what's his name? The one who leaked the videos about Afghanistan and what was going on there.
Well, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't think of his name right off.
Yeah, you got. I just had his name on my tongue. Assange.
Julian Assange.
Julian Assange. Mm. You know, and what he said here about
with the Patriot Act, it just made it worse.
absolutely, absolutely. I guys, oh man, Darth Vader, please, we have to run a Rumble video where we watch this movie from. I'm telling you, this is guys. I'm gonna give you a link, but we're gonna do a reaction video to this. This is coming from. Let me pull it up for you. I have it. I saved it on my video review. My man, we gotta talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
This right here. This is. I hope you got skin because he's gonna scrawl.
And you do it.
Go watch this movie. It's called Redacted Present Peace, War, and 9/11. I'm not gonna say anything else. All you have to do, like people who wanna call people conspiracy theory, I said, listen, man, just go listen to the experts, people who has buildings, people who were on the ground, and what they said. And I think a lot of what we're experiencing now, it all happened as a result of what happened on that day. All our privacy, the Patriot Act, and in the name of saving and protecting our freedom, we've lost most of our freedom. So
we didn't lose it, we gave it up.
I know. But the thing is, you had to be afraid enough to give it up. So once there's the movie, I'll put a link in there for you. So go check it out. Go check it out. I would like to do a reaction video to this with you, Darth Vader. I'm also going to put this on our Discord for our to-do list. So we can talk about that another time. But I think this video, YouTube can handle this. YouTube can handle this, Juve. The only thing they're going to do is give us a strike. So
they're not ready for the truth.
No, they're not. They're oppressing this. This is being shadow banned. You when you see the content, it tells you everything you need to know. I'm just gonna leave it there. I'll give you guys a link and you can check it out at your own time. But it shows you why this much power is given over to these people. Abraham Lincoln was the one who said, right, nearly all men can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yes, Lord Actons. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Using it, and it's how the deep state keeps politicians in line and prevents them from asking too many questions. When he was on Tulsi Gabbard's podcast in December 2022, Tucker Carlson said this.
There are members of Congress who are controlled by the intel agencies. I'm not speculating on this. I lived there for 35 years. I know this. I had a very high-ranking member of the House Intel Committee tell me at dinner at a restaurant in Washington when he'd been drinking, we got to talk about this. And I said, I'll text you. He goes, I can't text. And I said, why is that? And he goes, well, because NSA reads my text. And I said, NSA reads it. Wait, you're the head guy on the Intelligence Committee. You're their boss. You're providing oversight in our constitutional system. He's like, yeah, but they're still spying on me.
Sadly, this shouldn't be a surprise. It should be expected. But even long before Edward Snowden detailed what's happening and provided the public with the actual names of the programs, some people knew about Echelon and Carnivore, although that doesn't make it any less disturbing. Carnivore monitors all internet traffic, by the way, and has since at least 1997. And long before that, Echelon, a SIG-INT collection system or signals intelligence, had been capturing and monitoring all electronic signals like telephone calls and satellite communications. There had been rumors of Echelon and its capabilities in the 1980s. And in 1983, intelligence expert James Banford discussed such technology in his book, The Puzzle Palace. Then, in 1998, the European Parliament published a report titled An Appraisal of Technologies of Political Control that showed the existence of the massive spy system, which would later be known as Echelon. This system is so powerful for decades, and even today, some people don't believe that it's capable of doing what it does. Echelon monitors millions of phone calls in multiple languages at the same time and can actually pick out specific people's voices from among the millions of calls. This is called a voice print, and if a specific individual is targeted for whatever reason, if they talk on a phone, whether it's on a payphone, on the side of the street, or a complete stranger's cell phone, within seconds, their voice print will be detected and the system will flag that conversation for further analysis. Equally amazing is Echelon's ability to detect strings of specific keywords from the millions of conversations occurring. For example, if two people are having a conversation and they use several words in succession that have been flagged by the system, then that conversation will be detected by Echelon for further analysis to determine whether or not the people were talking about a recent news event or if they're potentially dangerous individuals who are planning on, say, harming the president. Although if someone was planning something like that against President Trump, then they'd probably look the other way or reach out to them and offer their help. But that's a whole other story. If this seems too complicated, then think again. Google can find a specific set of keywords out of the billions and billions of web pages in a fraction of a second after you search for them. Also, back in 2009, the Shazam app was released for iPhone that allows people to instantly identify the name of practically any song that they hear, whether it's on the radio or playing on a TV commercial. It doesn't matter if there's background noise or people talking while it's detecting the song, the app still works. The History Channel aired a show called Echelon, the most secret spy system, back in 2003, 20 years ago, that included interviews with James Bamford and even General Michael Hayden, the director of the National Security Agency at the time. A Canadian intelligence analyst who worked for Canada's equivalent of the NSA admitted this.
While I was at CSE, a classic example, a lady had been to a school play the night before, and her son was in the school play, and she thought he did a lousy job. Next morning, she was talking on the telephone to her friend, and she said to her friend something like this: "So Danny really bombed last night." Just like that. The computer spit that conversation out. The analyst, erring on the side of caution, he listed that lady and her phone number in the database as a possible terrorist.
And you may recall in the 1998 thriller Enemy of the State, Gene Hackman's character.
Oh my Lord, this is crazy. Darth Vader, this is why when the Dems are telling me they cannot tell you whose crack it was in the White House, I laugh. This is why when these people said they have no idea Biden's have any relationship with his son business dealing in China, in Ukraine, they can't make the connection. There is no evidence. There is no. I laugh because I'm like, yo, you serious? Like, we have technology that can pick up on your voice based on certain words that are used. Listen, we had a case we live in PA. We had a case of youth being busted. You know how they got busted? These young scholars were making fraudulent checks at home on their computer using a specific app. They used the VPN to see how they were typing. Not the FBI, just the local police station were following them for years, piling evidence of them doing fraudulent checks. They busted at least 8 of them in our city, kicked down the door and said, you're using this computer at this specific time. This is the VPN, and this is the internet network. And here are evidence and papers. Listen, busted them, and it's been used in prison over 12. I mean, they stole at least $15,000-$20,000. They were making fraudulent checks, depositing them and in people's account, and they will pull them back out, and the account of the person will go negative. So it was a very disturbing thing these guys were doing, but it was amazing watching how they caught them. I said, you gotta be kidding. They know what kind of app you are using, what you are typing in the privacy of your home. And if they want to get you, they will. And I said,
and even with VPNs, you're not even safe.
Yeah, even with VPNs, I guess those things, they don't really block as well as you might think they do. Some of them do, because it kind of mix the system in a way, kind of says you live here, you live there, but they have a way of getting to you, finding you
no matter what,
if they need to. And it was shocking to me. That's why I can't understand how these people are telling me that they don't know what's going on in the White House. We have no connection. We don't know whose crack it was. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Meanwhile, they could find a gnat in a dog butt in freaking
Yeah.
West Virginia
I know. It's pretty
just from the dog's yelp.
It's amazing. It's crazy.
He listed that lady and her phone number in the database as a possible terrorist.
And you may recall in the 1998 thriller Enemy of the State, Gene Hackman's character makes a comment about this technology, saying this.
Fort Meade has 18 acres of mainframe computers underground. You're talking to your wife on the phone, you use the word bomb, president, Allah, and you have 100 keywords. Computer recognizes it, automatically records it, red flags it for analysis. That was 20 years ago.
Most of the viewers thought that this was just a Hollywood fantasy, but
Oh my Lord. Yeah, I saw that movie.
Mhm.
Oh, they were telling
They
us.
were warning us.
They
in
were
that
warning
movie.
us. Yeah,
That was
they
a
were.
warning.
Warning shot. When a lot of us didn't pay attention, we thought, oh, just another movie. No, I'm telling you, this is what they got going on.
Like people don't realize a lot of times movie writers and directors are trying to warn us of something, and
Well-
we just don't pay attention. We think, oh, this is an entertaining movie. Hey, let's shut our brains off and watch a movie.
Yeah.
No, that like if you actually pay close attention, there's a message in there somewhere.
Yeah, they are way ahead of time. That they actually, I mean, even some of the movie writers themselves are working alongside of the three-letter agencies. So sometimes they expose themselves intentionally to, I don't know, is it for the purpose of popularity or just to put a message out there? But I think it's part of the plan. Sometimes they have to tell on themselves. There's a reason behind that, but yeah, they tell you. And some
Well,
of these movie writers
they
know
do
have
when the
insights.
information's outdated.
So by the time it comes on a movie, they're probably way ahead of,
Yeah,
much more.
when they put the information out in a
Lord.
movie, that information is like 10 years old. So you got to figure they're like 20 steps ahead already from what the information you're given.
Sheesh.
So you got to figure it's 20 times worse than what you're actually hearing.
Mm. All right, let's bring this video to a close. Sheesh.
Exit for analysis. That was 20 years ago.
most of the viewers thought that this was just a Hollywood fantasy, but the writer was obviously aware of Echelon. And a lot of the technology in Enemy of the State was based on actual systems. Obviously, Echelon is used for political spying and blackmail, but also industrial espionage as well. It's believed that in the 1990s, the system was used to illegally spy on a German company called Enercon in order to steal their trade secrets that they were using to build wind turbines. A Belgian company called Lernout and Hospi had trade secrets stolen from them by American intelligence operatives involving speech recognition technology they were working on because their executives were being illegally monitored by Echelon as well. You can imagine how else this system can be abused. Deep state operatives could look for keywords spoken from specific people to determine if they were aware of a sensitive issue, scandal, or crime. They could easily implement the search for keywords for Bilderberg Group, the Bohemian Grove, or cross-reference them with the voice prints of every member of Congress so that if any of them were to mention these words during a telephone conversation, then that conversation could be flagged and later analyzed to see what exactly they're saying about such groups and maybe give them a little talk to encourage them to cease and desist. George Orwell wrote in 1984 that, quote, every citizen, or at least every citizen important enough to be worth watching, could be kept for 24 hours a day under the eyes of the police. Is a certain senator planning on raising the issue of the Bilderberg Group on the floor of the Senate, blowing their decades of cover? If so, then a blackmail, intimidation, or coercion scheme would likely be put in place to prevent this security breach and save the Bilderberg Group from the unwanted attention such public comments would bring them. And sadly, none of the brand name conservative talk show hosts or political pundits want to bring it up either. They're either too afraid to be called a conspiracy theorist or worse. Maybe their corporate controllers just don't want them to direct their audience down the Bilderberg rabbit hole. I've gone deep down the rabbit hole, however, and if you want to hear all about it, then order my book, The Bilderberg Group, Facts and Fiction, in paperback from Amazon.com, or download the ebook from Kindle, iBooks, Nook, or Google Play. As many of you know, my books are a lot more in-depth and hardcore than my videos, which I have to tone down a bit for obvious reasons. But the info is in the books, as clear as day and fully sourced. So head on over to Amazon.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.
Ah, boy.
But yeah, that's kind of one reason why I don't use a webcam.
Well, I think we have a lot more to worry about, though. we on
Oh
a live,
no, I
we
know.
on a live
I'm
stream
just
talking
saying,
about this,
but,
but
still,
I get you though.
I mean, I try to keep as small a footprint on the
I
internet as
agree.
possible. So
Yeah, the less, the better. Yeah, I mean, we are live streaming this thing right now. Who else is listening? You know,
mhm.
that's why when I think about the censorship that's going on YouTube and everything that's going on there, is like, okay, I see what's going on here. You know, demonetized for this. You can't say that. Those words are bad. It's like, okay, but we got people that are cussing and yelling and saying all kind of crazy things on the same platform, and they get away with it. Okay, all right. Russell Brand is an evil guy. It's like, well, there's a lot of evil on YouTube that they still alive and well. So
Yeah, far worse than anything we've ever spoke of or he has.
yeah, but I like this text here in Acts, and I want to give you a word of encouragement because that spirit that we're talking about here, that spirit of censorship, is not a new spirit. It's been around forever. Um, you know, when the early apostles, after Christ left, give them the gospel to proclaim to the world, they had to deal with this. They commended them not to speak at all. See, we think we got it bad. Like, shut your mouth, if I may use the English version of this. Do not teach in the name of Jesus. So we don't even want to hear the word Jesus ever come out of your mouth. And I love what the apostles said in response. Peter and John answered and said unto them, whether this is right or it be right in the sight of God, to hearken, to listen unto you more than unto God, you be the judge of that. Here's the next few words. But we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. And I'll say this to say this. If you think you're going to shut me up because you don't like the truth, you got another thing coming. I mean, you may record, you may follow, you may dig, you may demonetize, just trying to cancel. We don't care. Because as long as the truth is in our hands, we will tell it, we will proclaim it, we will declare it from the rooftop. And there is no system in place that can, now you can stop some of us, but you cannot stop all of us. And this is why we should never be afraid of these people, no matter what they say. Let's move on. And I hope